Can you imagine stepping onto any stage, calm, confident, and completely captivating? If public speaking feels intimidating, or if nerves hold you back from career-accelerating opportunities, then this book is for you. Inside Public Speaking Mastery, discover how to develop a magnetic speaker persona, master deliberate practice techniques that eliminate common speaking mistakes, erase anxiety so you command attention effortlessly, deliver messages tailored precisely for your audience, persuade with power, passion, and purpose, craft unforgettable stories that stick in people's minds, and much, much more. With these tools, you'll step into every spotlight with clarity and confidence. Ready to own the room? Chapter 1: Winning Mindset. Your heart pounds, palms sweat, every eye in the conference room locks onto you, waiting for brilliance or watching for failure. In this moment, two speakers diverge. One crumbles under the weight of self-doubt, the other rises with unshakable confidence. The difference isn't talent, experience, or luck, it's mindset. This chapter will install the mental foundation that separates elite speakers from the trembling masses. You'll forge an identity so powerful that stage fright becomes stage hunger, and every speaking opportunity becomes rocket fuel for your influence. Most people approach public speaking backwards. They memorize techniques, practice gestures, polish slides, all while their inner voice screams, "You're not cut out for this." They're building a mansion on quicksand. Elite speakers start with bedrock, an unbreakable belief in their right to be heard. Bandura's research proves it. When people believe they can succeed, task persistence jumps 40%. In public speaking labs, confidence priming alone cut rehearsal avoidance in half. Your brain is a prediction machine. Convince it you're destined to dominate the stage, and it will rewire itself to make that prediction reality. The secret weapon? Your speaker persona statement. One sentence that crystallizes your identity as a communicator. Not, "I'm trying to get better at speaking," but "I am a magnetic speaker who transforms rooms with my words." This isn't positive thinking fluff. This is neural programming. Here's what happens when you nail this foundation. First, you'll articulate that bold persona statement and deliver a 60-second introduction without notes. You'll detect the self-limiting beliefs that have been sabotaging you and replace them with empowering truths. But that's just the beginning. Over time, this mindset shift creates a cascade of opportunities. Speaking invitations multiply, your negotiation leverage skyrockets, promotion velocity accelerates, confidence compounds across every area of your life, leadership, networking, even personal relationships. The system is deceptively simple. Daily affirmation loops, where you read your persona statement 3 times. Weekly micro-speech challenges where you record 90-second topic riffs in one take. And monthly reflection audits where you score your confidence, clarity, and influence. Why this order? Identity first, because mindset precedes skill execution. Action second, because tiny wins hardwire new neural pathways. Review third, because measurement converts motion into improvement. Your practical exercise starts now. The mirror mantra. Stand tall, stare directly into your own eyes, and state your persona sentence aloud. Raise your volume 10% with each repetition. Finish with a power pose, arms raised, chest open, and hold for 5 deep breaths. Feel ridiculous? Good. Break through lives on the other side of your comfort zone. The outcomes scale with your commitment. Good. You'll deliver team updates without trembling. Excellent. You'll volunteer for department-wide briefings with poise. Best. You'll keynote conferences and command rapt attention from start to finish. What can derail you? When your inner critic resurfaces, rewrite your persona statement stronger. When you skip daily practice, schedule calendar alerts and attach rewards. When confidence plateaus, raise the challenge level. Bigger audiences, tougher topics. The world rewards those who speak with conviction and punishes those who whisper with doubt. You have 2 choices. Remain trapped in the prison of "I'm not a natural speaker," or break free into the identity of someone who owns every room they enter. Your transformation begins with a single decision, to see yourself not as you are, but as you're becoming. The techniques in the coming chapters, deliberate practice, fear erasure, feedback loops will only work if you first believe you deserve to master them. But there's a hidden accelerator that most speakers never discover, one that can compress years of improvement into weeks of focused effort. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2. Deliberate Practice. You've watched them, those speakers who seem to effortlessly command attention, who never stumble over words, who deliver complex ideas with surgical precision. What separates them from the masses who rehearse for hours yet still fumble under pressure? The answer isn't more practice, it's the right kind of practice. Most speakers rehearse like they're painting with a roller, broad, unfocused strokes that cover everything but perfect nothing. They run through their entire presentation again and again, cementing mistakes as deeply as successes. They mistake motion for progress, repetition for improvement. Elite speakers practice like surgeons, with laser precision, targeting specific weaknesses until they're eliminated completely. This is deliberate practice, and it's the hidden multiplier that compresses years of improvement into weeks of focused effort. Here's what most people don't understand. Your brain learns through pattern recognition. When you rehearse randomly, you're teaching your neural pathways to accept inconsistency. When you rehearse deliberately, you're programming excellence into your muscle memory. Ericsson's groundbreaking research with elite violinists revealed a stunning truth. The best performers didn't just practice more, they practiced differently. They logged over 10,000 feedback-rich hours and outperformed serious amateurs by a factor of 10. The difference wasn't talent or time invested, it was the precision of their training. But here's the breakthrough most speakers miss. You don't need 10,000 hours to see dramatic results. You need 10,000 perfect repetitions of the right elements. The secret lies in chunking, breaking your presentation into 45-second segments and mastering each piece individually before linking them together. Think of it like learning a complex piece of music. You don't play the entire symphony badly 100 times. You perfect each movement, then seamlessly connect them. Why 45 seconds? It's the sweet spot where your working memory can hold complete thoughts while your attention stays laser-focused. Any longer and your mind starts to wander. Any shorter and you lose the natural flow of ideas. Start with your weakest chunk, the section where you stumble, where filler words multiply, where your confidence wavers. Record yourself delivering just that segment. Watch it back immediately. Note every every awkward pause, every moment where your energy dips. Then record it again, correcting those specific flaws. This is where the magic happens. Instead of hoping your mistakes will somehow disappear through repetition, you're actively hunting them down and eliminating them one by one. The 3-chain drill amplifies this effect. Choose your 3 most challenging chunks, perhaps your opening hook, a complex explanation, and your closing call to action. Record them back to back without stopping. Review the recording with ruthless precision, marking every filler word, noting pacing issues, identifying energy drops, then immediately re-record with those corrections embedded. What you'll discover is remarkable. Within days, your filler words will drop by 25%. Within weeks, you'll maintain eye contact 70% of the time instead of staring at your notes. Within a month, you'll deliver 10-minute presentations flawlessly from memory. But beware the traps that derail most speakers. Boredom creeps in when you repeat the same chunk endlessly. Combat this by adding timing pressure or specific gesture targets. Blind spots persist when you're your only critic. Recruit peers to review your recordings and spot what you miss. Overtraining fatigue sets in when you hammer the same weakness repeatedly. Rotate between different focus areas to keep your practice fresh. The speakers who dominate stages aren't naturally gifted. They've simply discovered that precision beats volume, that targeted repetition trumps mindless rehearsal, that deliberate practice is the ultimate force multiplier. Your chunks are becoming sharper. Your delivery is gaining precision. Your confidence is building with each perfect repetition. But there's still one invisible enemy that can sabotage even the most prepared speaker, an ancient fear that hijacks your nervous system the moment you step into the spotlight. Chapter 3: Fear Erasure. Picture this. You've mastered your content, rehearsed with surgical precision, and built an unshakable speaker identity. You step onto the stage, and suddenly, your mind goes blank. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Your carefully crafted words dissolve into stammering confusion. What just happened? Fear hijacked your brain. This isn't weakness, it's biology. When your amygdala detects threat, it floods your system with stress hormones that shut down higher cognitive functions. Your working memory, the mental workspace where eloquence lives, gets commandeered by survival instincts. You're no longer a polished speaker, you're a caveman facing a saber-toothed tiger. The cruel irony? The bigger the opportunity, the more devastating the hijack. That career-defining presentation, that industry keynote, that investor pitch, these high-stakes moments trigger the strongest fear responses precisely when you need peak performance. Most speakers try to push through the fear, hoping adrenaline will somehow transform into confidence. They take deep breaths backstage, repeat positive affirmations, and pray their preparation will carry them through. Sometimes it works. Usually it doesn't. Elite speakers take a radically different approach. They don't manage fear, they erase it. The secret lies in a counterintuitive truth. Your brain can't tell the difference between real and imagined threats. The same neural pathways that fire when facing actual danger activate when you merely think about speaking in public. But here's the breakthrough. If your brain can learn to fear, it can learn to be fearless. Systematic desensitization is the weapon that rewires your threat response. Wolpe's pioneering research in 1958 proved that gradual exposure could eliminate phobic reactions by 90%. Meta-analyses consistently show massive effect sizes for performance anxiety reduction. The principle is elegant. Expose yourself to progressively challenging speaking situations until your amygdala stops screaming danger and starts whispering routine. This is where your fear ladder becomes your liberation tool. Start by listing 10 speaking contexts in order of difficulty, perhaps beginning with recording yourself alone and escalating to presenting at industry conferences. Each rung represents a controlled exposure that normalizes what once terrified you. The magic happens in the daily climb. Spend just 2 minutes on each rung, gradually ascending as your comfort solidifies. Your brain begins to categorize these experiences as safe, familiar, even boring. What once triggered fight or flight becomes as routine as checking email. But there's a crucial accelerator most people miss: the 4-7-8 protocol. Before each ladder climb, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. This isn't just relaxation, it's neurological hacking. The extended exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, telling your amygdala to stand down. Track your heart rate before and after each session. Watch the numbers drop as your fear response weakens. The transformation unfolds in stages. Initially, you'll speak comfortably on camera alone, no small victory for someone who once trembled at the thought. Progress to contributing confidently in cross-functional meetings, your voice steady and your ideas clear. The ultimate destination? You'll relish high-stakes spotlights and crave bigger stages, your former fear transformed into magnetic stage presence. Beware the common pitfalls that derail progress. Jump too many rungs too quickly, and your system will revolt. Retreat one level and restabilize before advancing. If physical tension persists despite mental calm, add progressive muscle relaxation to release stored stress. When negative self-talk spikes during exposure, immediately rescript your inner dialogue with empowering replacements. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's fear that has been systematically dismantled through intelligent exposure. Every rung you climb weakens fear's grip and strengthens your neural pathways of confidence. Your amygdala is learning to trust instead of panic. Your working memory is staying online under pressure. Your stage presence is becoming unshakable. But even fearless speakers can sabotage their impact if they ignore the one element that separates good presentations from transformational ones. Chapter 4. Feedback Loops. Two speakers practice with equal intensity. Both rehearse daily, both study the masters, both push through their comfort zones. After 6 months, one has become magnetic on stage while the other remains frustratingly mediocre. What separates them? The answer lies in something most speakers completely ignore: the speed of their learning cycles. Here's the brutal truth. Without feedback, you don't just stagnate, you accelerate in the wrong direction. Every practice session without correction cements flaws deeper into your neural pathways. You're not building skill, you're building bad habits with surgical precision. Most speakers operate in a feedback vacuum. They rehearse in isolation, perform in public, then wait weeks or months for the next opportunity to gauge their progress. This glacial learning cycle guarantees mediocrity. By the time they realize what's not working, the mistakes have become muscle memory. Elite speakers crack the code by compressing feedback cycles from months to minutes. They create tight loops where output immediately generates data. Data drives instant correction, and correction gets tested in real time. This isn't just faster learning, it's exponential improvement. The science backs this up ruthlessly. Cornell's research proved that spaced retrieval practice doubled retention compared to passive review. Google's internal tripod study revealed that weekly feedback accelerated sales presentation mastery by 20% compared to monthly reviews. The pattern is clear: frequency of feedback directly correlates with speed of mastery. But here's where most speakers stumble. They confuse feedback with validation. They want to hear "great job" instead of "here's what's broken." Real feedback isn't encouragement, it's surgical diagnosis followed by immediate repair. The weapon that transforms feedback from occasional luxury to daily necessity is deceptively simple: the 3-check rubric. After every micro-speech, you score yourself on 3 dimensions: clarity, energy, and brevity, using a ruthless 1 to 5 scale. No participation trophies, no grade inflation, just cold, hard data about your performance. Clarity measures whether your message cuts through mental fog or adds to it. Did your main point land with precision, or did you bury it under layers of qualification and tangents? Energy tracks whether you radiate magnetic presence or drain the room's vitality. Brevity reveals whether you respect your audience's attention or abuse it with unnecessary words. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. A clarity score of 2 today becomes 3 tomorrow when you eliminate one confusing phrase. An energy rating of 3 jumps to 4 when you add purposeful gestures to your delivery. Progress becomes measurable, improvement becomes systematic. The Nightly 90 ritual weaponizes this feedback loop. Every evening, record a 90-second opinion piece on any topic that sparks your interest. Run your 3-check rubric immediately. Identify the single highest leverage fix, perhaps eliminating filler words for clarity, adding vocal variety for energy, or cutting redundant phrases for brevity. Then re-record immediately with that one correction embedded. This creates a feedback cycle measured in minutes, not months. Your brain receives instant data about what works and what doesn't. Neural pathways strengthen around successful patterns while weak ones get pruned away. Week by week, your scores climb as your speaking becomes sharper, more dynamic, more compelling. The progression is predictable. Within a week, your clarity scores will average above 3 as you learn to eliminate confusion. Within a month, your energy ratings will hit consistent 4s as you discover how to radiate presence. The ultimate target, perfect 5-5-5 scores maintained across diverse topics, transforms from impossible dream to inevitable destination. But beware the traps that sabotage progress. Feedback avoidance kills momentum. Gamify your streaks and share scores with peers to maintain accountability. Metric obsession can blind you to real audience needs. Rotate in live listener reviews to stay grounded. The brevity trap sacrifices depth for speed. Practice layering complex ideas within tight time constraints. Your feedback loops are tightening. Your improvement is accelerating. Your speaking is becoming measurably better with each iteration. But even the most refined technique falls flat if you're speaking to the wrong audience about the wrong things. Chapter 5, Audience First. You've perfected your delivery. Your confidence radiates. Your feedback loops are razor sharp. You step onto the stage and deliver what you know is your best performance yet. The audience sits politely, nods occasionally, then files out without a single follow-up question or action commitment. What went wrong? You spoke brilliantly, to yourself. Here's the harsh reality most speakers refuse to face. Your audience doesn't care about your expertise, your credentials, or your carefully crafted insights. They care about one thing only: what's in it for them. Every second they invest listening to you is a second stolen from their overflowing priorities. Make it worth their while, or lose them forever. The difference between speakers who inform and speakers who transform lies in a fundamental shift of perspective. Mediocre speakers ask, "What do I want to say?" Elite speakers ask, "What does my audience need to hear in the way they need to hear it, to take the action I want them to take?" This isn't about dumbing down your message. It's about making your brilliance accessible and irresistible to the specific minds in front of you. The elaboration likelihood model reveals why this matters so much. When people perceive information as highly relevant to their goals and challenges, they shift from peripheral processing, where they half listen while checking phones, to central processing, where they engage deeply and retain durably. Research shows high relevance can boost central processing by 60%, doubling the lasting impact of your message. But relevance isn't universal. What captivates a room of startup founders will bore a conference of compliance officers. What energizes sales teams will confuse engineering groups. Your message must be custom-fitted to the specific cognitive patterns, emotional triggers, and decision frameworks of your particular audience. This is where most speakers fail catastrophically. They prepare generic presentations and hope universal principles will somehow resonate with everyone. Instead, they connect with no one. The solution lies in audience archaeology, digging deep into the minds of your listeners before you craft a single sentence. You need to map their goals, fears, vocabulary, and decision triggers with forensic precision. What keeps them awake at night? What would make their boss promote them? What jargon do they use, and what terms make them cringe? The Foursquare framework transforms this intelligence into actionable insight. In one quadrant, capture their burning goals, the outcomes they'd sacrifice weekends to achieve. In another, their deepest fears, the failures that would derail their careers. The third quadrant maps their tribal vocabulary, the phrases that signal you're one of them versus an outsider. The fourth identifies their decision triggers, the specific evidence that moves them from consideration to commitment. Armed with this map, every element of your presentation becomes surgically targeted. Your opening hook addresses their specific pain. Your examples use their language. Your solutions align with their decision criteria. You're not just speaking, you're speaking their language about their world to solve their problems. The So Who Now Pass weaponizes this audience intelligence. After drafting any section, interrogate it ruthlessly. So what? Why should they care about this point? Who specifically benefits from this insight? Now what? What concrete action should they take based on this information? Rewrite until the answers explode with listener value. The transformation is immediate and measurable. Instead of polite nods, you'll eliminate jargon and receive engaged head nodding. Instead of passive listening, you'll trigger questions that signal deep engagement. Instead of forgotten presentations, you'll inspire immediate post-talk action commitments. But beware the traps that derail audience-focused speakers. Wrong audience profiles lead to mismatched messages. Survey stakeholders before every event to verify your assumptions. Information overload overwhelms even engaged listeners. Chunk your insights into 3 key points maximum. Ignoring emotional drivers reduces impact to pure logic. Weave in relatable stakes and compelling narratives. Your audience is leaning forward. Your message is landing with precision. Your relevance is undeniable. But even the most audience-focused content can fail if your physical presence contradicts your verbal authority. Chapter 6, Body Command. Before you speak a single word, your audience has already decided whether to trust you or dismiss you. Before you share your first insight, they've determined whether you're worth their attention or just another talking head. This judgment happens in 2 seconds, faster than conscious thought, deeper than rational analysis. What triggers this instant verdict? Your body. Here's what most speakers don't realize. Your physical presence isn't just packaging for your message, it is your message. Every gesture broadcasts confidence or uncertainty. Every stance signals authority or insecurity. Every facial expression either draws people in or pushes them away. Mehrabian's groundbreaking research revealed that 55% of emotional communication comes through visual cues. Your words might be brilliant, but if your body language screams, "I don't belong here," that's the message your audience receives. High immediacy instructors, those who master purposeful physical presence, boost student recall by 22% compared to their low immediacy counterparts. The cruel irony? Most speakers obsess over their content while completely ignoring the delivery system. They craft perfect sentences while their bodies undermine every word. They memorize key points while their posture screams amateur. Elite speakers understand that body command isn't about looking good, it's about creating contagious confidence that spreads through the room like wildfire. When you own your physical space with authority and warmth, your audience unconsciously mirrors that energy. When you project nervous uncertainty, they absorb that anxiety and check out mentally. The secret lies in understanding that your body speaks a primal language your audience reads instantly. Closed postures trigger ancient threat responses. Open gestures activate trust circuits. Strategic positioning commands respect while excessive movement signals chaos. This is where the triangle stance system becomes your foundation of power. Picture an invisible triangle with your feet forming the base and your head as the apex. This geometry creates stability that your audience reads as strength, confidence that radiates outward before you utter a sound. But stance is just the beginning. Your gestures must become purposeful extensions of your thoughts, not random movements that distract from your message. Each hand motion should amplify a key point. Each shift in position should signal a transition in ideas. Your body becomes a conductor's baton, orchestrating audience attention with surgical precision. The breakthrough exercise that transforms scattered movement into commanding presence is deceptively simple: the silent story. Choose a basic narrative, perhaps describing a challenging project or explaining a simple process. Now tell that story using only gestures and facial expressions. No words, no sounds, just your body communicating meaning. Record this silent performance and watch it back with ruthless honesty. Can you follow the narrative without audio? Do your gestures clarify or confuse? Does your face convey emotion or remain frustratingly blank? This exercise strips away the crutch of words and forces you to discover the power of pure physical communication. The transformation unfolds in predictable stages. Initially, you'll reduce nervous fidgeting by half as you become conscious of every movement. Your hands will stop wandering aimlessly and start supporting your message with purpose. Progress further, and your gestures will align seamlessly with your key points, creating visual emphasis that drives home important concepts. The ultimate destination? Your presence alone will quiet a room before you speak. People will lean forward when you take the stage, drawn by an authority that radiates from your very being. You'll command attention not through volume or theatrics, but through the quiet confidence of someone who belongs exactly where they are. But beware the pitfalls that sabotage physical presence. Over-gesturing creates chaos. Rehearse in slow motion first, then gradually increase speed while maintaining control. Locked posture signals rigidity. Schedule daily mobility work to keep your movement fluid and natural. Facial flatness kills connection. Practice exaggerated expressions in mirror drills until authentic emotion becomes automatic. Your body is becoming your ally instead of your enemy. Your presence is radiating confidence instead of anxiety. Your physical authority is established before you speak. But even perfect body language can't save you if your voice betrays weakness the moment you open your mouth. Chapter 7: Voice Control. Your posture commands respect. Your gestures amplify every point. Your audience leans forward, ready to absorb your wisdom. Then you open your mouth and deliver your brilliant insights in a flat, lifeless monotone that sends half the room reaching for their phones. What just happened? Your voice betrayed your authority. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your vocal delivery carries more persuasive power than your actual words. You can present groundbreaking insights with the passion of a tax code reading and watch your influence evaporate. Or you can share simple concepts with dynamic vocal variety and hold a room spellbound. Most speakers treat their voice like a delivery truck, functional but forgettable. They focus on what they're saying while completely ignoring how they're saying it. They mistake volume for authority, speed for energy, and consistency for professionalism. The result? Audiences that tune out despite having every reason to tune in. Elite speakers understand that voice is the ultimate emotional highlighter. Just as a skilled artist uses color to guide the viewer's eye, master speakers use vocal variety to direct the listener's attention and emotion. They don't just convey information, they conduct symphonies of influence. The science reveals why this matters so profoundly. Apple and Hecht's research showed that speakers who varied their pitch by just 10 to 15% increased their perceived credibility by 30%. Not their actual credibility, their perceived credibility. The audience literally trusted them more because of how they sounded, regardless of what they said. But here's where most speakers stumble. They confuse vocal variety with theatrical performance. They think dynamic delivery means shouting key points or adopting fake accents. True vocal mastery is far more subtle and infinitely more powerful. Your voice operates on three primary dimensions that either magnetize attention or scatter it. Tempo controls urgency and emphasis, slow builds gravitas, fast creates excitement, strategic pauses spike suspense. Pitch signals confidence and competence, steady low tones project authority, upward inflections suggest uncertainty. Volume commands presence, whispers draw people in, crescendos drive points home, sudden drops create intimate connection. The breakthrough that transforms monotone speakers into vocal virtuosos lies in making the invisible visible. Most people have no idea how their voice actually sounds to others. They hear themselves through bone conduction, while audiences hear them through air transmission. Two completely different acoustic experiences. This is where script marking becomes your secret weapon. Before every presentation, annotate your notes with vocal cues, arrows for pitch rises and drops, pause symbols for strategic silence, volume indicators for emphasis. These visual guides transform your script from flat text into a conductor's score, complete with emotional directions. The 150-110 drill weaponizes this marking system. First, read your marked script with 150% exaggeration, pitch swings that feel ridiculously dramatic, pauses that seem eternally long, volume changes that border on theatrical. This extreme version breaks you out of monotone prison and expands your vocal range. Then immediately read the same script at 110% of normal variation. Still dynamic but natural, still engaging but authentic. This two-pass system calibrates your voice to a sweet spot most speakers never discover. Natural but powerful, conversational but commanding. You're not performing Shakespeare. You're having an animated conversation with friends about something you care deeply about. The progression is transformational. Initially, you'll eliminate those deadly flat segments that kill audience engagement. Your voice will start to rise and fall with your content instead of droning at a single pitch. Advance further, and you'll use strategic silence to spike suspense, making your audience hang on every word. Master this dimension, and you'll modulate your voice to steer audience emotions on command, building excitement, creating intimacy, driving urgency exactly when you need it. But beware the traps that sabotage vocal progress. Strain your voice through overuse, and you'll sound hoarse when it matters most. Warm up with vocal sirens and lip trills before every session. Over-dramatize your inflection, and you'll sound like a game show host. Review recordings ruthlessly for authenticity. Let breath control lapse, and your voice will weaken at crucial moments. Integrate diaphragmatic breathing into your daily routine. Your voice is becoming an instrument of influence. Your vocal variety is commanding attention. Your delivery is matching your content's power. But even the most compelling voice falls flat if it's not structured around the ancient principles that move humans to action. Chapter 8: Persuasion Keys. Your voice commands attention. Your presence radiates authority. Your content is laser-focused on audience needs. You deliver your presentation flawlessly, receive enthusiastic applause, and watch your audience do absolutely nothing. They loved your talk. They learned valuable insights. They nodded in agreement throughout. But when Monday morning arrives, their behavior remains unchanged. Your brilliant presentation joins the graveyard of forgotten speeches that informed but never transformed. What's missing? The architecture of influence. Here's the brutal reality most speakers refuse to face. Information doesn't change behavior. Logic doesn't drive action. Facts don't create commitment. You can present the most compelling data in the world and watch people walk away unchanged because you've confused education with persuasion. Elite speakers understand that moving people requires more than sharing knowledge. It demands orchestrating a psychological symphony that touches mind, heart, and will simultaneously. They don't just present information, they engineer transformation. The ancient Greeks discovered this truth over 2 millennia ago. Aristotle identified 3 pillars of persuasion that remain as powerful today as they were in Athens: athos, pathos, and logos, credibility, emotion, and logic, trust, feeling, and reason. Miss any pillar, and your persuasive structure collapses. But knowing the pillars isn't enough. You need a blueprint for building with them. This is where Monroe's motivated sequence becomes your construction framework, a 5-stage progression that guides audiences from passive listening to committed action. The sequence begins with attention, not just grabbing it, but earning it through relevance and urgency. Most speakers open with pleasantries or agenda reviews. Persuasive speakers open with stakes that matter. They make the audience care before they make them think. Stage 2 reveals the need, the gap between current reality and desired outcome that demands immediate action. This isn't about creating problems where none exist. It's about illuminating problems that already exist but remain unaddressed. You're not manufacturing urgency, you're exposing it. The third stage offers satisfaction, your solution positioned as the bridge across the gap you've revealed. But here's where most speakers stumble. They present their solution as one option among many. Persuasive speakers present their solution as the inevitable conclusion of the logic they've built. Visualization, the fourth stage, makes the abstract concrete. You paint vivid pictures of success if they act and failure if they don't. This isn't manipulation, it's clarification. You're helping them see the future consequences of present choices with crystal clarity. The final stage demands action, specific, immediate, measurable steps they can take before the motivation fades. Vague suggestions like "think about it" guarantee inaction. Precise directions like "schedule the meeting before you leave today" convert inspiration into implementation. TED's internal analysis reveals the power of this multidimensional approach. Talks that incorporated all 3 rhetorical appeals scored 21% higher on audience inspiration ratings. Military compliance studies showed Monroe-sequenced briefings lifted action rates by 28% compared to traditional information dumps. The 5-bullet Monroe map transforms this framework from theory into practice. Distill each stage into a single bullet point, one for attention, one for need, one for satisfaction, one for visualization, one for action. This forces clarity and prevents the rambling that kills persuasive momentum. The dual appeal rewrite exercise weaponizes this structure. Choose any 2 bullets from your map and identify which rhetorical appeal is missing. Is your attention bullet all logic with no emotion? Layer in vivid imagery that makes people feel the stakes. Is your satisfaction bullet pure emotion with no credibility? Add verifiable data that builds trust in your solution. The transformation is immediate and measurable. Good outcomes include audiences that nod and take notes instead of passively listening. Excellent results generate immediate post-talk commitments as people volunteer for next steps. The ultimate achievement? You drive organizational decisions in your favor within 24 hours because your presentation didn't just inform, it compelled. But beware the traps that sabotage persuasive structure. Logic overload creates analysis paralysis. Weave in vivid imagery that helps people feel your points. Manipulative vibes destroy trust. Anchor every claim with verifiable data. Weak calls to action waste all your persuasive momentum. Restate your desired action in clear, urgent terms that eliminate confusion. Your structure is becoming irresistible. Your appeals are hitting multiple persuasion channels. Your audiences are moving from passive to active. But even the most persuasive framework can fail if you haven't mastered the one element that bypasses rational resistance entirely. Chapter 9, Story Power. Your persuasive structure is flawless. Your logic is bulletproof. Your call to action is crystal clear. You present your case with mathematical precision and watch your audience's eyes glaze over as their minds drift to lunch plans and weekend errands. What's happening? You're speaking to their rational brain while their emotional brain controls the decision-making process. Here's the secret that separates legendary speakers from forgotten ones. Facts tell, but stories sell. Data informs, but narratives transform. Logic convinces the mind, but stories move the soul, and the soul drives action. Stanford's groundbreaking research exposed this truth with surgical precision. When researchers presented statistics alone, only 6% of listeners could recall the information accurately. But when they embedded identical statistics inside compelling narratives, retention skyrocketed to 63%, a 22-fold increase in memorability. The numbers didn't change, the packaging did, and that packaging changed everything. Why do stories wield such devastating power? Because they bypass the rational filters that block most persuasive attempts. When you present facts, your audience's analytical mind scrutinizes every claim, questions every assumption, and resists every conclusion. When you tell stories, their guard drops. They stop analyzing and start experiencing. Stories don't just convey information, they create immersive experiences that hijack attention and embed themselves in memory like mental Velcro. While facts fade within hours, stories stick for years. While data points get forgotten, narrative moments get retold, reshared, and relived. Master storytellers understand that in our distraction-saturated world, capturing attention isn't enough. You must command it completely. Stories create what psychologists call narrative transportation, a state where listeners become so absorbed in your tale that they lose awareness of their surroundings. Their phones become invisible. Their mental chatter quiets. They exist entirely within the world you're creating. But random stories scattered throughout your presentation won't create this effect. You need architectural precision, a framework that builds tension, delivers payoff, and drives home your message with surgical accuracy. The 5-beat arc becomes your blueprint for narrative dominance. Beat 1 opens with a hook that creates immediate tension, poses an urgent question, or paints a vivid image that demands resolution. You're not easing into your story. You're grabbing your audience by the throat and pulling them into your world. Beat 2 escalates the stakes through rising action. The challenge intensifies, the obstacles multiply. The protagonist struggles against mounting pressure. Your audience leans forward, emotionally invested in the outcome because you've made them care about the characters and consequences. Beat 3 delivers the climax, the decisive turning point where everything hangs in the balance. This is your story's emotional peak, the moment that determines success or failure, triumph or disaster. Your vocal energy spikes here. Your gestures become more pronounced. Your entire presence radiates the gravity of this pivotal moment. Beat 4 provides the twist, an unexpected insight that flips the audience's perspective and reframes everything they thought they understood. This isn't just a plot device. It's a cognitive reset that opens minds to new possibilities and challenges existing assumptions. Beat 5 crystallizes the takeaway with laser clarity. No vague morals or abstract lessons. Your audience walks away with a specific insight they can apply immediately, a principle they can share with others, a truth that changes how they see their world. The stat-to-story swap exercise transforms this framework from theory into practice. Choose your most important statistic, perhaps the ROI of your proposed initiative, or the cost of inaction on a critical issue. Now wrap that number inside a 5-beat narrative. Deliver it twice, once as a dry fact, once as a compelling story. Watch how differently your audience responds. Measure their recall 10 minutes later. The difference will shock you. The progression of mastery unfolds predictably. Initially, your audience will quote your takeaways the next day instead of forgetting them by the elevator. Advance further, and listeners will retell your narratives accurately to peers, spreading your influence exponentially. Reach the pinnacle, and your stories become signature anecdotes cited throughout your organization, your personal brand inseparable from the powerful narratives you craft. But beware the traps that sabotage story power. Rambling midsections blur your arc and lose your audience. Script each beat as a single sentence before expanding into full narrative. Emotional flatness kills engagement. Layer vocal variety and purposeful gestures at your climactic moment. Time overruns destroy pacing. Rehearse at 10% under your target length to build buffer for natural expansion. What you've learned in this book transforms you from information deliverer to influence architect. Every data dump becomes a magnetic narrative that ignites decisions. Every meeting, pitch, or update becomes a moment of profound influence where you don't just share ideas, you plant them so deeply they feel like your audience's own insights. These skills revolutionize your relationships beyond the professional sphere. Story-driven empathy deepens personal bonds and diffuses conflicts by helping others feel understood rather than judged. Shared narratives forge trust faster than facts alone ever could, creating connection through common experience rather than common knowledge. You can now achieve what seemed impossible before you opened this book. You'll inspire cross-functional teams to rally behind your initiatives, not through mandate, but through genuine enthusiasm. You'll secure stakeholder buy-in for bold, resource-heavy projects by making the vision so vivid they can't imagine any other path forward. But here's the ultimate payoff that makes every hour of practice worthwhile. As you continue applying these concepts, neural efficiency compounds exponentially. Each rehearsal becomes lighter while your impact grows larger. Story crafting becomes reflexive rather than effortful. Influence feels effortless and automatic because you've rewired your brain for persuasive excellence. You're no longer just a speaker. You're a force of nature who shapes reality through the power of words. Every room you enter becomes your stage. Every audience becomes your ally. Every message becomes a catalyst for transformation. The world belongs to those who can move others through the ancient art of storytelling combined with the modern science of influence. You now possess both. Use them wisely. Use them boldly. Use them to create the change you want to see in the world. Your voice matters, your message matters, your influence matters. Now go make it heard.